Light in the darkness. Saint Habib Girgis. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. This light was Habib Girgis. These profound words were said by the thrice-blessed His Holiness Pope Shenouda III in the 40th year commemoration of the departure of the great saint and Christian educator and founder of the Sunday School movement, the Archdeacon Saint Habib Girgis. On June 20, 2013, the Holy Synod canonized Saint Habib Girgis as a saint in the Coptic Orthodox Church based on the holiness of his life and his massive contribution to the Coptic Orthodox education. Through direct discipleship or indirect influence, all generations following Saint Habib Girgis have learned how to contribute to the revival of patristic theology and benefit from its treasures. If it wasn't for Habib Girgis, we wouldn't have been here, and we wouldn't have had knowledge or education, said His Holiness Pope Shenouda III, remembering Saint Habib Girgis. He was an exemplary servant who dedicated his life to his calling and the service he was entrusted with. Let us review his life story and contemplate on his virtues. Childhood and early life. He was born in 1876. His father departed when he was 6 years old. His mother raised him and enrolled him in a Coptic school for high school. The church recognized the dire need for a theological seminary. When Habib Girgis was about to graduate from high school, 5 students were chosen from the Coptic school, as well as 5 priests to be the first 10 students at the theological seminary. The first student chosen was Habib Girgis, and he was the first to graduate the theological seminary. The church appointed Yusuf Menakarios as the first dean. Father Philitheos Ibrahim was asked to move from Tanta to Cairo to teach religion, the seminary's first and only class, although he was not in good health. While Father Philitheos was teaching, he lost conscience and became bedbound, leaving the seminary without a teacher. Habib was chosen to teach in his place. He was in his last year as a student and teaching in the first year at the same time. He became the first professor of theology and homiletics in the seminary. He excelled in preaching and teaching. He was the highest-ranking graduate of the seminary's first graduating class of 1898. In 1918, he became the dean of the theological seminary until he departed, reviving the theological seminary. At the young age of 22, Habib Girgis felt the responsibility to reform and rebuild the theological seminary so that it became a pillar of education in the Coptic Church. Reviving the theological seminary was not an easy task. There were no students, no teachers, and no facilities to be used. He raised funds to buy land and to build facilities. He traveled all over Egypt teaching and giving sermons. He also collected donations to rebuild the theological seminary. His focus was not only to get the seminary up and running, but he was also concerned with advancing its level of education to receive accreditation and get recognized by the Egyptian Education Department. In 1946, Habib Girgis established the evening seminary for university graduates. Many leaders of Sunday schools from the churches in Cairo and Giza enrolled. Then, he established a program for those who had already graduated college. Pope Shenouda, Nazir Gayed, was a student of its first class. The class had only 5 students. He also established a branch for the cantors in the church. Finally, in 1948, the Egyptian Ministry of Education officially recognized graduation from the Coptic Theological Seminary as equivalent to a bachelor's degree. He was not only concerned with the theological seminary, but the educational system in the church as a whole. The Sunday School Movement. In 1898, the Holy Synod issued a statement about the importance of religious education for youth and children. In the same year, Habib established a curriculum for teaching children in churches, and it was based on questions and answers. In the year 1900, he established the first Sunday school class. When the youth in that class graduated, they went out and began teaching Sunday school classes. The year 1918 was the formal establishment of the Sunday School movement with the formation of a central Sunday School committee. He then established unified curriculums for Sunday school. In the 1920s, the Sunday School movement gained momentum and became stronger. In the 1930s, the movement became widely spread throughout Egypt under the guidance of Habib Girgis. He was the general coordinator of all Sunday school throughout Egypt. At the time of Pope Ioannis, he became the deputy to the Pope, who was the supreme head of Sunday schools and its general committee. He was the first to utilize the idea of a picture or an icon related to the lesson with a summary of the lesson on the back. He established pre-service classes to prepare individuals to teach in Sunday school. He established curriculums for Sunday school servants to educate them on the characteristics of each age group. Habib Girgis cared for his children's spiritual and physical health and intended for Sunday school to prepare them to become useful members of the church and nation. Religious education in public schools. Habib felt that Sunday school was not enough when it came to religious education. He noticed that students go to school daily without a spiritual message delivered to them. He began to communicate with the Ministry of Education to add religion to the curriculum of grade school classes in all public schools all over Egypt. One major challenge was the lack of teachers who can teach religion in schools, so he began to prepare teachers for the task. The Ministry of Education expressed that there were not enough funds in the budget to add more teachers. He found individuals who were willing to be trained to teach in schools for free as volunteers. Books and publications. He also felt that more opportunities were needed to teach the Copts, so he established El Karma magazine in 1907, and it continued for over 17 years. Its deep and powerful articles and high-caliber authors distinguished the magazine. Its first issue was in 1907, and Habib Girgis assisted in its authorship. He wrote articles and invited many Christian writers to write in it. It was widely distributed, and it became a successful magazine. It was the first publication to translate and publish church fathers' writings. He wrote more than 30 books, including the various curriculums: the 7 Sacraments of the Church, in comparative theology, the Orthodox Rock, in church history, St. Mark the Evangelist and the life of St. Paul and St. Anthony. In spirituality, he published several books: The Mystery of Godliness, Spiritual Views of Christian Life. For funerals, he wrote Comfort to the Faithful. Other service. People loved Habib greatly because of his care for education in all areas and because of his spiritual personality. He served in the papacy of 4 patriarchs: Pope Cyril V, Pope Ioannis XIX, Pope Macarius III, and Pope Euseb II. He accompanied Pope Ioannis to his visit in Ethiopia and was awarded honorary medals by the Emperor and Empress. He became an archdeacon, dedicated and consecrated to his service. His students, children, became priests, bishops, and even popes while he remained a deacon. Saint Habib, an exemplary servant. Habib Girgis is a role model to all the servants. We can learn many virtues from his life and apply them in our life and service. Let us look at some of these virtues. Loyalty. He was so loyal to his church. He never criticized or slandered any of the church leadership. He was loyal to his Coptic identity. He always looked for ways to strengthen the Coptic identity of the believers through teaching, songs, and publications. He was loyal to his purpose. He never worked for personal gain, but rather always strived to raise the status of Christian education throughout all areas in Egypt. Goal-driven, trusting in God's grace. Some may say, I don't want to serve in that capacity because there is a lot of work in the service. It is hard, there are not enough servants. I may join later when the circumstances are better. However, Habib Girgis said he will do the service, and by God's grace, things will work out. Habib Girgis was the only one teaching in the whole church at some point. He never complained, but rather worked hard, and the Lord crowned his effort with success. Zeal with a positive mindset. Habib Girgis' zeal represented positive action in his depth. It never happened that he criticized the weakness of his time, but when he found a deficiency, he would look for how to treat it without condemning anyone. His Holiness Pope Shenouda III. Servant with a vision. At the age of 22, he was teaching in the theological seminary. At the age of 24, St. Habib Girgis started the Sunday school movement for religious education for children in their own communities. Professor Habib Girgis established Sunday schools in 1900 and designed its curriculum. In 1941, he held the first Sunday school teacher conference where 400 teachers attended. In other words, it took 40 years to get 400 teachers to serve in Sunday school. As a result of this inflaming fire of love in the hearts of Sunday school servants, many dedicated their lives to Christ. Waves of youth went to the monasteries to start a dedicated monastic life or priesthood or to serve as dedicated servants. They led generations to the fullness of Christ because they were full of spiritual energy. Seriousness. Almost completely self-taught, Habib lived during the period when there were no teachers at the seminary. He became devoted to the seminary's library, reading, studying, searching, summarizing, authoring, and professionally growing. He was chosen to teach colleagues because of his seriousness. Habib Girgis took this work extremely seriously. He considered every child his own and cared deeply about their salvation. He strove to bring unity to the Sunday school movement and among its servants by visiting every branch and holding meetings to exchange ideas. Although many Sunday school servants and students came from modest backgrounds, some eventually moved into the church hierarchy, becoming monks, priests, bishops, and even popes. Conclusion. Saint Habib Girgis was an outstanding servant and teacher. He will always be remembered as the pioneer of religious education in the Coptic Church's modern history. He was not only a teacher, but a school. Most importantly, he was a symbol for positive work in the church, a symbol for the love of education, a symbol for meekness, zeal, and many virtues. He departed on the eve of St. Mary's Feast on August 21st, 1951. He was 75 years old. Teaching is neither the dictation of advice, nor of orders, nor of instruction. Rather, it is the participation between the teacher and the child in a common spirit for knowledge. Therefore, it is the teacher's duty not to dictate information or to hand out absolute orders to these children and their care, but they should provide them with the opportunity to discover everything on their own and offer sufficient assistance to enable them to make these discoveries. Saint Habib Girgis. May the prayers of Saint Habib Girgis be with us all.